And ladies and gentlemen, and Power Ranger nerds of all ages, welcome to Voices from the Grid. I am Sasha Kaplan, the one, the only, and forever red. Uh, your Red Ranger, Sasha Kaplan, and I am joined by our Pink Ranger, Brian Massey.
Hey everybody, what's happening? It's Brian, your Pink Ranger. I don't know if I'm ever gonna not be pink anymore. I don't know. We'll find out maybe
We
next
shall
season.
see. We shall
We
see
shall
where
see.
life takes us. Because, Rangers change colors for really bizarre reasons. And we've changed color. Well, y'all have changed colors for various reasons.
Yeah, but I don't know. You're still holding steady with that red.
I got the red headphones. I got, a few red shirts. If I start, buying clothes and, I already bought the clothes. I can't really start buying them in a different color.
Yeah.
For you, it was easy. You just turned everything pink and then lived with the consequences. Me, I don't have that tech. So, and no, we
What?
will not let you live that down.
No, it's a shame. It's a shame. I will live with till the grave.
Um, so we are reviewing the following 3 episodes. We have Phantom Phenomenon,
Mhm.
Vanishing Act, and When Time Freezes Over. So before we get into these episodes, you and I were chatting very briefly before the start of the recording. Brian, what do all 3 episodes have in common?
Well, I believe there's and it's kind of interesting because we were just talking earlier about your cat too. I believe that there happens to be a disappearance of sort in each of these episodes. Um, also, hello, we have the Phantom Ranger who phases in and out of visibility at
Literally and figuratively.
yeah.
So let's start, I guess, then with the Phantom Phenomenon. So the synopsis for this episode, according to Ranger Wiki, is a spaceship arrives on Earth, and with it, the Phantom Ranger, a strange warrior in black armor with the power of invisibility. Ooh. His motives are a mystery to both the sides of good and evil. When Justin's friend Nico discovers the hidden location of the Phantom Ranger ship, Divatox prepares to attack the new arrival when he least expects it. Meanwhile, Bulk and Skulk, who are no longer monkeys, or chimpanzees, I'm sorry, excuse me, are going through the roster of taking on various jobs, and today they are security guards, first for a bank, and then for a local gold mine. Well, I'm sure our listeners can already guess how well this goes for Bulk and Skull, but let's start with the first question before we get to the story.
Sure thing.
This is the introduction of the Phantom Ranger. What do you think about the Phantom Ranger's overall design? Does it fit him? Does it make sense? What's getting you here?
I think it's really cool, and in a weird sort of way, he kind of looks like an evil version of Blue Centurion, but he's not evil. He's kind of got like a Metal Heroes thing going on. Definitely looks like he would fit in a little better with like the Beetleborgs, maybe. Um, but he's got a really cool suit. It's definitely one of my favorite suits. What's really weird about Turbo, by the way, is that you have both Blue Centurion and you have the Phantom Ranger, and neither of them are Sixth Rangers. It's really an interesting take, and I know that they did that in the Sentai too, and I don't know exactly how they did that, but like here, I just think his suit's really cool. I love the all black. I love the like ruby in the middle of his chest, which well, that's more important later on down the road. Um, Really cool design. Just one of my favorites so far.
I will say, I don't know. I have a kind of mixed feelings about the design. I do think he looks better than the Blue Centurion. Because the Blue Centurion just looks like a space cop. It's like,
Yeah,
those Transformer toys, right? If you take a police car and you make it into a person, it will look like the Blue Centurion. Um, but they do a good job of making him look different from the Blue Centurion and keeping that like cool black armor and the fact that he's not always visible. But what
yeah.
is absent from this episode, Brian?
Oh God, what is absent from this episode?
Mm.
That's a very good question. I'm not entirely certain.
There is no monster fight in this episode.
Oh my God, you're right. Yeah. And you know what's funny is I didn't feel that way because like I was actually interested in the story of the Blue Centurion. So like
You mean the
the
Phantom?
Phantom, yeah, yeah. Sorry. Sorry. I was literally just grabbing my figure because I wanted to just agree with you by the way that yes, this thing to me looks like it feels like he wants to transform into like a motorcycle. But um yeah, there's no giant monster fight and honestly, A, it's kind of welcome and B, it's like well done Turbo if like I don't even notice that and I'm that vested in like who is this dude then like yeah I thought it was okay. I'm not
So
going to complain.
something we're consistently sort of taking note of in these episodes is the role that Justin plays. Um, and for we can talk a little bit about the dynamic and any differences we've noticed between how Justin was with our new team of Rangers versus how he was with like Tommy and the gang.
Mhm.
But I'm curious about your thoughts on Justin in this episode because this is like the focus of this episode is obviously the Phantom,
Mhm.
right? And maybe a little bit of Cassie, as we see in the future episodes, but we'll get to that. But at the core, this episode starts with Justin and soccer practice and his friend Nico being like, "Hey, I just found this cool thing and you cannot tell anybody." And then he triple promises or whatever it was, right? That he's not going to tell
Mhm.
anybody. Um, did this ultimately like how do you think this reflects on Justin's character and do you think he should have kept that promise or not?
Well, I mean, it said to him in the episode that like sometimes if like, you know, sometimes even if you made a promise like that, like it can be broken if like there's a very good reason for it. But I think and it's such a I don't know because it's like I don't know if I was a kid and I happened upon an alien spaceship and like I'd be like, "Yo, you got to keep that." I would be telling everybody, "Look, there's an alien spaceship. Come check it out, guys." Like, like I don't know why it's a secret, but
It's not
like,
like this is the first time we've ever had aliens on Power Rangers.
you know what? That's a very good point. But um, I guess in that context, sure, I would be like, "Okay, fine." But I think that just kind of speaks to like Justin, because he's got this friend, which by the way, I know his name is Nico. I named him Kitster from Phantom Menace, basically. Uh, gave me a Kitster vibe very hard. I don't know why, but he it's so funny because he's like, dude, you can't tell anybody, and like Justin is like so like beside himself trying to keep this secret because he doesn't want to hurt his friend. He doesn't want to upset his friend, and it's like he's starting to establish friendships with people his age because like he was hanging out with Tommy and crew and now he's hanging out with TJ and crew and like yeah the dynamic's a little weird there and I would say also maybe he wouldn't have kept this secret as long as he did if it had been Tommy and crew but because it's TJ and crew and like they're still kind of getting to know each other maybe that kind of trust isn't entirely there just yet that bridge hasn't been 100% built yet it's there but it's like you know.
Our listeners will
So
have to see our reviews of the three previous episodes to see if what Brian said holds up, because as we've mentioned on multiple occasions, we do record these episodes out of order.
yes,
So it is entirely possible that we will see some of those elements maybe in our three previous episodes, but who knows? Maybe you're right. I do think the dynamic is a little bit different. And in these three episodes that we're looking at today, I noticed that there does seem to be some distance between Justin and the other Rangers because, as you said, he doesn't know them that well yet.
Mhm.
But there's also, I think, this like, here's this kid who's technically the most experienced out of all of them in terms of being a Power Ranger.
It's so weird that he's the veteran.
But, nobody really resents him for it.
No,
But it is a strange dynamic where Justin is like, he doesn't, like, we saw this, I think it was in this episode, or maybe it was in, maybe it was in the others, but oh no, it was in Vanishing Act. Sorry, we're jumping around a little bit, but because we're talking about the dynamic between Justin and the others, I think it's worth noting that, they have that device that finds the bombs or whatever. And in Finishing Act, like, that's the first thing Justin does. And they're just, and you see TJ and Carlos like hanging over him, like, yeah, Justin's got this. So it's interesting to see our Rangers find their footing in this dynamic as well. And speaking of that, that leads me straight to my next question. Let's talk about Cassie. So in this episode, what is interesting is that the Phantom, Divatox is trying to figure out what the heck is going on. And there's this like invisible force that is helping them. Because there's like this invisible assailant that foils a bank robbery and stuff like that. And Cassie's like, well, this is kind of weird. Cassie ends up seeing him shimmer away. Right? So this sets up a plot that I don't think ends up going anywhere based on my memories of Cassie and the mysterious Phantom Ranger. So what do you think about Cassie in this episode and her, like, the fact that she's the one that sees the Phantom Ranger and how that will, if anything, ultimately lead to anything? That's a very badly phrased question.
Oh, no problem. I would absolutely love to answer that. What to, for, and how. No, but I think maybe they were trying to establish some kind of like potential crush, because we'll talk about that. You're the one that wrote the questions, not I, this episode. But like, I'm sure we'll talk about like the kind of little bit of crush that she seems to have developed on one Phantom Stranger, if you will. Because but yeah, I think she's kind of like, out of everybody, like, she's probably the most taken aback by him, and so it's kind of cute. I like it. I like that, she's kind of like got a little bit like, not damsel in distress, but kind of like, yes, I've saved the maiden fair kind of sort of thing. And like, all he's done is like, I'm just doing my job, peace. And she's like, whoa. And it's like, I don't know. It's kind of cool.
He's a mysterious figure and he does good things and he stopped a bank robbery. But I do think this establishes an element to Cassie's character that we will see throughout the series, especially in Space, in that very famous episode that we're not going to get into now, where we do see Cassie as being very human and being very empathetic towards others, whether they be aliens or monsters. And Brian makes a face. He knows exactly what we're talking about.
Oh, yes.
So on that note, let's talk about kind of the action in this episode. What did you think about the action, and especially the sequence of Justin coming back, Justin having to defend, like, be captured by the foot soldiers, then like trying to hide his secret identity, even though like everybody knows he does karate, but I guess he's not allowed to show he has enhanced karate because of his ranger powers. I don't know. So what did you think of the action and this sort of like Justin's secret identity situation?
I thought it was handled pretty well. I thought, I thought the action definitely told the story of like, he wants to save his friend, but he also doesn't want to out himself as a ranger. And so he's kind of got to, take a few more bumps than usual, maybe. And I thought it was cool too that, he's sitting there talking to his friend, like, dude, get out of here. Like, go, get, and I thought that was, pretty heroic. He's a pretty heroic kid. I thought the action was pretty cool. I thought it was kind of funny too later on too, just watching all the Piranatrons just kind of like, reacting to nothing. That's always fun. That had to be a fun dance set. But yeah, I thought it was pretty well done. I thought it told a story, which was the most important thing. I thought and it told it well.
Yeah, because this episode really is the start of the Phantom Ranger arc situation kind of thing, where we have him for a few episodes here and there. And this is like these 3 episodes I think work very well in tandem because they are very Phantom Ranger oriented episodes. So let's before we talk about Bulk and Skull, because we are gonna talk about Bulk and Skull. I have 2 more questions for you. The first is, have you noticed that Demetria has stopped giving questions as comments?
Oh, I noticed that a while back, and I'm not salty about it at all.
Long overdue.
Okay. Yeah. Oh no, I'm.
Well, we knew last time you and I recorded together, like we knew she was capable of it.
Yeah.
So I wonder if there was a note that came from someone higher up being like, can she stop?
Hey, we just got a note from higher up. Hold on. Hold on. All right. Stop doing that. Okay, cool. We'll stop doing that. Like, it was, oh God, it was just kind of, I don't know if like a bunch of kids wrote in or something, or what, but like, or maybe it was something from a higher up, but like, even I'm sitting here watching this going, this is obnoxious. Like, and I get that she's from a planet called Inquirus. I get that she's like that's her people, that's her race, and all that stuff. But like, come on, and like, it was the one time this season where I'm like, yeah, you know what? I'm completely on Tommy's side with this. This is obnoxious. We're not getting anywhere. Why are you like this?
And you know, like I said, when you and I recorded last, we noted that she is capable of not just giving questions, but it also makes sense that she would be less likely to use her Inquirus nonsense, because this is a new team of Rangers. They're not capable, they're not necessarily always going to know how to solve the situation,
Right.
because they're new.
And I will say too, that could be her having interacted with the Rangers and trying to meet them in the middle and going, oh, this is bothering you. Let me try and, at least that's me trying to give an in-universe reason why she stopped doing it as much, instead of it just being like, yeah, production was just like, yeah, no, this has got to go. So,
Well, maybe part of it is like, again, because like this is a new team of Rangers, like I said earlier, where they're still getting used to their powers. This is technically like not counting the passing the torch. This is only like the 4th episode so far with them, where we see
yeah.
them kind of becoming Rangers. And I'm sure like we'll talk, I'm sure some of this might be, I apologize if some of this is repetitive for you guys, but okay, let's talk about our girl Diva Talks. Does she have a plan this episode? Because like she robs a bank, she wants to destroy the Phantom Ranger spaceship. Like, what's the deal?
She also doesn't have enough money. She's destitute with her $10 billion. Poor, pitiful her.
Well, hey, at least robbing, is kind of on par for her whole pirate thing.
Yeah. And I literally wrote down here, because I was like, she says, I'm practically broke. And I literally said, don't worry, Diva Talks. You can apply for your company and crew to get a tax break and bail out from our government. Remember, evil pirate corporations are people too. You know, so don't worry. She doesn't have to rob a bank. She can just scheme the system. It's all good.
Nothing wrong with that.
No, but she had like she had no plan except for I need more money. She was literally what's her name? John Ralphio's sister in freaking Parks and Rec going, money please. Like,
But also, I'm sure the United Alliance of Evil probably has a pretty big buy-in, A global evil revolution needs a lot of money to pay the foot soldiers and stuff, and
I want to know if they have a global evil pension and 401k.
Now you're asking way too much from the United Alliance of Evil. If you survive
Yes.
the experience, that's payment enough.
They make the money off of the backs of all the foot soldiers that die. And it's like, yeah, we'll just take that money and put it in a stipend or whatever. Sorry. No.
You're fine.
No.
But I think this is a good
but yeah, once again, somehow she manages to work a detonator into the plot.
Well, you gotta
Uh,
blow up the Phantom Ranger spaceship, even though she has no idea who he is or why he's here or what he's doing.
this thing might or might not be useful to me, but blow it up anyways because
But this
I
is
have to
also
blow stuff up.
kind of like a weird plan in general, right? Because when what's his face? The guy who what was his name from a few episodes ago, the one who came in to talk to us about like Demetria's sister or something.
Oh yeah,
Because like Divatox caught him and right away was like, "Oh, this could be useful. He has information." But the Phantom Ranger is just a hindrance, I guess.
I I mean I don't know. I really because you would think that she's gonna like instead of like blowing him up, it's like he's obviously here for a reason. And like, by the way, I don't know if it was this episode or the next episode where they were asking where he was from, but like it's mentioned where he's from. Like he's from Eltar, and I'm like, well, that's obviously like he's gonna have information that's useful to both sides. Like, why are you trying to kill him? It makes no sense. So, anyways,
Well, on that note, I think we'll take our moment to go to our next episode, which was Vanishing Act.
sounds good.
And Vanishing Act synopsis is Translucitor, which is a mouthful, is performing a vanishing act on Angel Grove. And the Turbo Rangers, with some help, must stop him before everything is erased forever. Meanwhile, Bulk and Skull have a new job, I guess. They are um what are they?
Um,
Greeting card people?
so there was a bit of a misdirect here because I thought they were joining the mafia. And no, instead, I guess they're happy birthday telegram folks that dress up or whatever. And how that's still a job in the 1990s, I have no idea. Seems like that job kind of died with like the 40s or whatever, but I don't know.
Gives me some Clue vibes.
A little bit. They're dressed as little piggies and they're like, we have a birthday cake. I was like, you used to be chimpanzees.
Hey, at least it's still an upgrade. Poor Bulk and Skull, they're not having the greatest time in these episodes. But so we see our Rangers playing basketball. Carlos, TJ, and Justin are playing basketball, and the ball vanishes, and then the basketball hoop vanishes, and everything else around them vanishes, and Justin manages to grab the detonator detector device thingy, which ends up coming in handy because it detects that things are happening. So are things actually vanishing?
Hmm. Are they vanishing or not? That's a well. Do we want to spoil it for the children at home? I mean, okay,
Yes, we're going to spoil it because this entire show is about spoiling everything.
that is true. Um, so yeah, turns out that, and what was this thing's name again? The Great Translucent.
Translucitor, because get it? Translucent.
Yeah, that's top notch naming right there. He like has this staff, which by the way, I want to talk about his costume real fast too.
Yes.
Like was there like a sale on Afghans in Los Angeles one day or something, or what's his outfit? Like I don't know what I don't think that this was like a Sentai suit. This seemed like somebody was like, "Hey, I got an idea," and they patched together a bunch of like I don't know, but it was just I I really don't know.
Yeah, I there's nothing in the Ranger wiki about him like not being like from the Sentai or anything, but his design is like weird. So I don't know. Anything is possible.
Yeah. Um, so he's got this like staff and he's able to make things vanish before your very eyes. And we later find out that it turns out the Rangers aren't actually watching everything vanish, or well, maybe they. It's weird. It's the mechanics of it aren't 100% defined because it's like they are walking around in like two dimensions at the same time or something because it's like they're seeing like an empty field, but like we see them in the command center and they're walking through stuff, and then like they see after a battle they see in the lake, like in the reflection, oh, Angel Grove is still there, but it's not. And it's like, so it's, I don't know if it's like actually messing with space time or if it's just messing with their mind. It's not clearly defined, but it is, but it isn't.
Yeah, it is kind of bizarre, but that actually leads me to I guess a question about Diva Talks again, because Diva Talks' entire shtick is basically, I'm just gonna screw with the Rangers. Like she's not actually trying to do anything to take over the world.
She, I don't know, she just got a wild hair up her butt about the Rangers. It, it's funny because it's funny that you mentioned that because we're all these episodes in, and yeah, what's her modus operandi?
I guess, well, because we know she's part of the United Alliance of Evil, maybe it's a matter of um like, she has orders to create chaos or something and to
Sure.
like try to take over the world if she can, but like the Rangers are here, so like if Zed and Rita couldn't do it and the Machine Empire couldn't do it, like honey, you're not going to do it either.
No, no, and while we're on the subject, because I was thinking about this too. It's kind of funny because it's like, and we'll get more into this in like the next episode, but I just wanted to bring it up now while it was still kind of relevant. Because a lot of her plans involve either messing with the world or destroying the world or messing with XYZ ka, right? She's gonna blow up the sun in one episode. She's gonna whatever. She's gonna freeze things. And for all the other villains like Lord Zed and Rita, and for like Mondo and the Machine Empire, like they're able to do that because they're established on the moon. They're on the moon. They're not on the planet that you're trying to destroy. So I got a question for you, Diva Talks. When you destroy the planet that you're currently on, and yeah, I know it's not going to matter later on because her weird dorsal fin spaceship thing like goes out into space or whatever. I don't know. Um, God, I can't wait for in space. But but like if you're destroying the planet that you're on and you have no refuge from like the destruction of the planet that you're on, why are you trying to destroy that planet? If like there's no other like it's just it's dumb. And it's like you're obviously here. It's like I get that you're trying to mess with the Rangers, but like you have to like live somewhere. I don't know. Anyways, like it
Yeah,
just
it's a
makes
little weird.
yeah, it just makes more sense when like there's an evil moon base and like we're here on the moon and we're gonna mess with the Earth because the Earth is you
Well,
know.
it depends on what you're actually trying to accomplish. Because Diva Talks isn't in like Diva Talks, as you said, she can leave on her spaceship, so she can destroy the Earth and skedaddle. But
Sure.
that's not really why she's here. I think realistically, her job is to distract the Rangers and to tire them out so that when the invasion comes, they're just gonna be tired. But we'll see when we get there. Um, let's see. What do we think? So part of the story here is that the guys get captured by the translucid or whatever, and it's up to Ashley and Cassie to save the boys.
Mhm.
By there's like a little bit. So let's talk about Cassie and Ashley in this episode. What did you think of their dynamic and their abilities as Rangers? And then this is where we can get more into the question about Cassie's taste in men.
Yeah. Well,
That's not
I
us being sexist. It is a part of the episode.
it is. I do want to touch on that last part first, just because I kind of got a little I thought it was kind of funny because you know, Cassie's being asked by Ashley, it's like, what do you like in a guy? And they bring up green hair, right? And it's like, oh, that's not a deal breaker for me. And it's like, what else do you like? And I wrote here, I wrote, I can just hear Trip from Time Force saying, please say psychic abilities, please say psychic abilities, please say psychic abilities. You know,
That's really funny, actually.
um,
Um,
but I thought their dynamic was really good. I like them. I like that, they can be girly and whatnot, but then like they also are able to get the job done, and like I like that, like they're teamed up, and it's like, hey, we can save the boys just like the boys can save us. I thought that was really cool. And also it's something I noticed, because like this is actually like one of my first episodes, the closest to, by the way, that I'm watching, where instead of it being Kat, it's Cassie as the Pink Ranger. And I caught myself going, wait a minute, why doesn't Pink have an Australian accent? And I was like,
mm,
oh, right, okay, cool. Like for 2 seconds I was like, shouldn't you have why is your accent oh, okay.
See, it's funny because I had the exact opposite reaction. I completely forgot the other Rangers existed,
Yeah.
except maybe Adam. But it's interesting how and again, I think it's because like I watched Power Rangers sort of weirdly.
Hmm.
So for me, this is the cast that I actually really loved. So I don't like, so for me the transition was like, oh hey, it's these guys again. I'm happy. I didn't really like think about the before. So it's interesting how that kind of transitions. But I also think like Ashley and Cassie are shown in this episode to be just as good as Kat and Tanya. It's
Yes.
a little different because they're less experienced and it shows, but they rescue the guys. They're the ones that put the Megazord together, and they're the ones that are kicking butt. And TJ's just like, yeah, you go, girls. What are your
Hell
thoughts?
yeah, quality. It's like, it's awesome. They did an awesome
Um,
job.
it is pretty cool. Like they're, and this is like, I like the dynamic between Cassie and Ashley as well, because they're like, there's like this developed friendship, but there's also this like professional respect that I'm getting from them. And I don't know if that's just something that like Tanya and Kat instilled in them before they left. Or if I'm just, as we often do, overthink about a children's show. But I like their dynamic. I like their friendship. And it's nice to see that develop because they do end up being very close friends and good teammates. So it's nice to see. Um, in this episode, though, the Ranger Wiki does note something very interesting, if I can find it. Aha. This episode marks the only nope, that's not it. Well, that'll get to my next question. Sorry, this is the only instance when the female Rangers initiate the Turbo Megazord spinout.
Hmm.
So let's talk about the Zord battle. One, was it necessary? And B, what was the point of the Blue Centurion being here?
I caught what you did there, by the way. I
What did
caught
I
the
do?
buzz, the buzz from Home Alone. One B. I love that. Um.
Completely unintentional. I don't think about Home Alone.
Okay. I What was it? Give me 1 second here.
While Brian looks through his notes, I will give you my opinion and say that the Blue Centurion just kind of shows up for 2 seconds with his own Megazord and then leaves, and it was kind of pointless. It was like, well, we
Yeah.
have the Sentai footage, we'll use it.
Yeah. He's here, guys. Remember, he exists. Buy the toys. It's like, I don't know if like the Zord battle was necessarily the greatest. I honestly think that like the next episode was the one where I was like, you could have just cut that. But this one, I mean, I don't know. It was kind of cool to see Blue Centurion, even if it was like, where have you been the whole episode,
And where are
dude?
you going?
Yeah, like like, uh, where have you been? Uh, so, um, I don't know. I didn't like, and it's funny because it's like normally like the Zord battles are like some of my favorite things, because like I really love the Zords, and like I find myself this season kind of being a little more like you, where I'm like, I don't care. And
I'm
it's so
converting.
It's so funny too because it's like I make no qualms about it that like one of my favorite things about tokusatsu, name it Sentai, Rider, whatever. I love practical effects and battles and stuff, and like it's why I love Godzilla so much. And I, the Turbo Megazord looks amazing, but like I just didn't care this episode. And like Blue Centurion Zord doesn't look all that interesting to me either. It,
This
it,
is what happens when you base a Sentai around cars.
yes.
We will this is in fact one of the few instances where we will just blame the Sentai.
Yeah. No matter how much it was supposed to be a comedy like parody season, it I think
Well,
it
you know, the pizza episode kind of let clued us in on that one.
yeah. So we're
Um
gonna toss your salad. Anyways, God. Yeah, I didn't really think too much about that. Now let's see here.
I will say
Uh,
that this episode I think was really interesting. I really liked the scene where we see Alpha trying to reach the Rangers and the Rangers trying to reach the command chamber and neither one being able to see each other because they're in the different dimensions or whatever it was. So that I thought was really cool, especially when TJ just like sits down. He's like, "What's going on?" And Alpha's like, "No, I'm here.
it was a little David Lynchian kind of sort of. I liked it. It was a little like, oh man, like what is this horror that we're living? Where I can't reach them. I literally cannot reach them, and I see them. They're right there, and I cannot reach them.
But this
Um,
also shows that the Rangers are able to problem solve and they pick
mhm.
up on clues. So you know, they're coming into their own as Rangers.
I got a question for you.
Uh-oh.
Um, Based on the way that different like rules have been established thus far, beginning with Mighty Morphin. Was there watching this episode? Was there ever a point where you thought, "Huh, I wonder, maybe if they morph, they'll be able to see the reality around them for a second?" Or did you think, no, that wouldn't have applied in the episode?
So that's actually a really good question because in one of the previous episodes, we talked about how I think there was something about the Rangers able to pick stuff up in their visors and they have like the flashlights. But in this case, what sealed it was the device that Justin had. That is what they used. So that actually didn't cross. That's a good question. It didn't cross my mind because I sort of went with the in canon logic of like, oh, they have this device. It's picking up all
Yeah,
of these different things. And then it can turn into a gun because if there's nothing cooler, it's things that can turn into other things.
absolutely. It's the name of the game. Morphin's in the name. A part of the reason I think why I thought along that line as well was because if you remember in Mighty Morphin season one, there was that episode where they had the glasses and like I think it was like Zach and Billy like put on the glasses and they thought that like their teammates were putties and they were freaked out about the putties, but then like the second that like Trini morphed, it was like, oh well, the spell's worn off now. Like as long as you're morphed, I don't see the illusion. So that was kind of where I was coming from, where I was like, maybe if they morph, they'll be able to at least kind of like look behind the curtain a little bit, but they didn't go that route, which
Well, I
nothing
think
wrong
it's
with that.
yeah. It's just a matter of like what they were trying to go for. In this case, it was, you know, Ashley and Cassie being like the ones to kind of get everybody to safety and figure it out, which I thought was kind of fun.
Yeah.
But yeah,
And
no,
that,
that's a good, really good point.
oh, well, thank you.
Anything else about Vanishing Act?
Um, Sorry, Silent Hill's happening outside my house.
I can't hear anything. Poor Bulk and
Okay.
Skull. They're not having the great time. They're trying their best, guys, okay? They just want to be like
I
okay, I
think
guess.
my one note about them is Bulk and Skull, you lose another job, sad face. I oh man, I really do feel bad for them. Because like it's like I, knowing what we know about them, it's like, man, like you wouldn't think that they would have hit such a low, but like, man, and like I'll be completely honest, like as much as their situation sucks, I can kind of relate to them a little bit. I mean, obviously, I've never like mucked up a job that bad, but it's like I can relate to like, oh man, this job sucks, but like I gotta make this work, you know?
No,
So,
definitely. So on that note, as poor Bulk and Skull do their very best, we're gonna move on to when time freezes over.
mhm.
Let's see. So the synopsis is following the Power Rangers successfully foiling her plan to freeze the sun. Divatox, apparently she really didn't think this one through, but whatever. Divatox recruits Clockster, who can rewind time so she can recover the freeze key and try again. But the second time out, Clockster accidentally freezes time by touching the powerful device. So let's start with Divatox here, because this is her brilliant plan slash not her plan slash plan. Is freezing the like why freezing the sun? And is this an effective use of her plans, I guess?
Um, like I said before, uh, Justin realizes that Divatox wants to freeze the sun, which is a cool sounding plan. It's gonna kill everyone though, including you guys, you dumbasses. Like what? I don't think that this is a good plan. Um, by the way, I feel like a more apt title for this episode is "Be Kind, Rewind."
Yeah, I like that better because time does, I guess it's because she's trying to freeze the sun and because of the key, it like freezes, the increases the temperature. But I agree with you. I think that's a much more clever episode title.
Yeah.
Um,
And by the way, I was expecting so many Schumacher ice puns.
and we didn't really get any.
Yeah, I mean, like, what was it? Like, I just remember like literally saying it's like, oh, they're gonna launch an ice key, and I was like, let's kick some ice. Okay. I was really, I don't know. This episode is. I have thoughts.
Yeah.
I have I have a lot of thoughts. And I'm sorry if like I kind of derailed, but like I was just kind of trying to get established because like, oh, this I because my thoughts are kind of all over the place on this episode. So
Because this episode is kind of all over the place. So
yeah,
don't feel too bad. But there is like, so the reoccurring theme here is Divatox does something that could have been a good plan, but isn't. And the Phantom Ranger saves the good guys. That's the basic summary of all three of these episodes. Or the Phantom Ranger shows up to help the Rangers solve the problem.
yes. The
So
Rangers are in over their head, and the Phantom Ranger comes in to save the day. And then, you know, what is it? Tuxedo masks away for another day.
yeah, pretty much. So the general plot is basically them refinding the freeze ray, destroying Clockster, and then the fact that the freeze key technically is, this is one case where the thing that is causing trouble does not get destroyed.
No, and it was like I didn't have enough energy to be angry at how dumb it was.
Kind of like, so this isn't the unpopular opinion here. I actually kind of found it like funny and I didn't hate it, even though it was completely weird and made no sense.
Justin basically takes the ice key, which by the
The
way is like
freeze key.
a freeze key. Thank you. He takes the freeze key, which is a companion cube before companion cubes were a thing, and he rewires it and turns it into the fastest freezer in the world trademark to make ice pops for Ernie's, Lieutenant Stone's Juice Bar, Ruth's Chris Steakhouse.
Recycle.
Oh, they
um
did with the footage. I'll tell you that much. They absolutely recycled the footage here.
so let me ask you this. Does this episode have a focal character, because it can be argued that the first episode is kind of Justin and the Phantom Ranger. The second episode is like the Phantom Ranger and the girls. And this one is just like a Diva Talks themed episode, actually.
I think so. It's kind of fun. She gets to whip out her winter jacket and stuff, and she gets to chew up the scenery, and um, just kind of, yeah, I guess it's her episode,
Yeah.
which is cool, I guess.
It's something. And then, of course, Bulk and Skull shtick for this episode is they are vacuum salesmen. And it's, in this case, it's not their fault, guys. This time it really is not their fault. It's the product that's defective.
Yeah.
Um,
Which,
so one question in all three of these episodes is, how would you characterize the relationship between the Rangers and Bulk and Skull?
almost non-existent.
Mm-hmm.
Because they really didn't go to school with them, and like, yeah, Bulk and Skull are still kind of, the buffoons. They're the slapstick, comedy variety hour, but like, there's not a whole lot to keep them, like, they don't know these people.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really make sense to be like, oh, they're gonna, mess with them or push them, because like, it's not them messing around with Billy or trying to get a date with, Kim. It's like, you don't, okay, they're new in town. So they, and also they're trying to hold down jobs. They don't have time to mess with them.
Definitely. But at the same time, I think there is a certain like kindness and friendliness that they do have, because there's a moment at the end of the Vanishing episode where Buck and Skull are like, we lost our documents, can you help us out? Because they're like, it's help, our boss is right there. And Cassie's like, it's not my birthday. And they're like, please help us. And so they do, which I thought that was really very sweet. So maybe we'll have seen a little bit more of the Rangers interacting with Bulk and Skull, but there is like this kind of like, this is not the Bulk and Skull that the original Rangers knew, right? This is not the bullies. This is not this is more of like the these are the post junior police officers, Bulk and Skull, that are like, they mean well, but they're here for the slapstick.
It's almost like they're almost like Harry and Lloyd from Dumb and Dumber, where they're trying to pay the rent.
Yeah, that's a hell of a way to look at it, but you're not wrong. So,
and it's so sad, by the way, that like they're trying to hawk it to Stone of all people, and right. I'm like, guys, come on, like, what? I guess like that's one of your connects, sure, and you can kind of rely on him, but like, good God, like, it was just kind of sad.
So one thing to note here, and this is according to the Ranger Wiki, because this is important to note, this is officially credited as Carol Hoyt's last time playing Diva Talks.
Oh, man.
So, I mean, she does not go out with the best plan, but she does get a lot of time to, as you said, chew the scenery. So giving her like an episode that is more focused on her for her final episode, I think is actually very sweet, even if it's like not the greatest episode ever.
I mean, I guess it doesn't have to necessarily be the greatest episode ever, but like, it is nice that she got a, pretty nice little send off. And, she's still going to be around because she's still, what's her name? But, it was nice that, like, hey, let's give her some time to like really kind of like walk around the room. I like that.
No, I think that is a really good point. So I guess the final note here is do you have any other final thoughts on these 3 episodes? What would you say is, out of the 3, is the best episode?
Out of the 3 is the best episode. I would say, good Lord. I mean, I liked Phantom Phenomenon. When Time Freezes Over was kind of
Yep.
and I thought Vanishing Act was, I don't know. I liked Vanishing Act even if the villain didn't really like look super imposing. It was still a pretty fun episode. Um,
Yeah, I think that's a good point. When Time Freezes Over is definitely the weakest link. It's interesting how these episodes get broken down for review. So it's like we started out really strong with the Phantom Phenomenon, right? We dropped a little bit with Vanishing App, but it was still good. And then we sort of hit like the lowest tier. It's like we keep going down the stairs. So definitely recommend Phantom Phenomenon. If you guys are wondering which of these 3 episodes is the most worth checking out.
yeah.
So on that, yes, Brian.
I also thought it was funny that the Rangers are caught in the time warp again.
Let's do the time warp again.
It's just a jump to the left.
And before this turns into a rendition of the time warp.
One last thing too, I do want to comment on this because with the freeze key and the the Clockster, we find out what his powers are, and his powers are pressing fast forward on the VCR. It was like I loved and also kind of hated that it was like, oh, okay, post production was like, we're just gonna film a bunch of stuff and like, okay, press the button, now press the other button. I don't know. You could just kind of see like I could see the director just kind of going like, okay, now rewind it more. It was fun.
Yeah. I will say something, and I don't know if it's just like because of production quality changes in the US or what, and I think I noted this the last time we recorded that like you can really see what Sentai footage and what isn't still in these episodes. Maybe less so with the Phantom Menace, but definitely some of the others. I'm like, yep, there's the Sentai footage.
The Phantom Menace.
Oh, Phantom Phenomenon. I'm not even a Star Wars fan. Why is it like this?
Anyways, yeah, it's well, they were still using like film in Japan for the Sentai, so like it was very grainy at that point, so it's very easy to be like, oh, okay, cool, like there's the Sentai footage, and I don't know what cameras they were using here in the States, but like it's so much better than like Mighty Morphin at this point because Mighty Morphin, like you look at that footage and it's like, did they film this on like a camcorder or something? Because it's like, and there's no way to like remaster that footage because it was never filmed on film, you know. So, because Bruno from MMPR Toys was even talking about it. A lot of people are like, I really want all these seasons to be on Blu-ray, and it's like, there's no point to doing that. It can't be mastered like that. The Sentai footage can because it's on film, but like you can't really master footage if like it's not at a certain resolution, and that's what they were doing with Mighty Morphin and so on and so forth. So
we
I
could
like
have
that.
Blu-ray. So theoretically, we could have Blu-ray releases of like later seasons, but not the original.
Yes. Now
that makes sense.
That doesn't mean that the seasons themselves can't be released on Blu-ray, but there's not going to be like an uptick in the quality of the footage because that's just not the kind of cameras that they were using.
That makes a lot of sense.
So,
and on that expert note, Brian, where can the people find you on the social medias?
Oh, why, thank you. You can find me on Twitter at OneDrunkGeek. You can find me on TikTok at Blue Ranger B_RYE. You can also find me over at CastwaveStudios.com, hanging out with the Two Fat Guys Eat crew. As of this recording, we just got back from Minnesota, and we just went around Minneapolis and tried the best Juicy Lucy's in town. And it's between Matt's Bar and well, it's not the 5A Club, I'll tell you that much. But you'll have to listen to that to find out. You can also find me at Instagram at Draken22. Sasha, where can we find you?
So for moi, you can find me at Geeky Kaplan on Instagram, Twitter, Blue Sky, and Threads. I'm on some of these more than others. Instagram and Twitter is usually the best way to reach me. And of course, you can find our show on Twitter at VFTG_PR. No, we will not call it X. And
Absolutely
finally,
not.
for all past episodes, you can find us on Spotify, and of course at txhthockey.com/x75production/VFTG. So join us next time, and may the power protect you.